Okay.
Now approaching lunar sunrise, and
Modern science, as we know it today, is an extremely recent event in the history of man. During the greater part of our existence on this planet, scientists were isolated individuals who worked on their own account or were supported by meager resources donated by rich people. The institutionalization of science is no older than a century, or a century and a half. What we understand by that is the organization of scientists in institutions and universities, which went from being financed no longer by rich individuals, but by governments and industry. The result of institutionalization was the very great exponential increase in the number of scientists on the face of the earth in the last 150 years. To give an idea of the numbers, in the whole of the 17th century, that is, in the space of 100 years, the estimated total number of scientists on the planet was approximately 150. It is difficult to evaluate precisely the amount of new things that these scientists discovered. But from the 17th century to 1900, the number of scientists went from approximately 150 to the order of 4,000 to 5,000. And their findings were now published in journals of wide circulation found in the libraries of major universities. In the next century, from 1900 until today, the number of scientists grew exponentially. And today, the estimated number of scientists has passed the 30 million mark. This growing number of scientists are discovering new facts. More new information is becoming available, and the number of scientific studies published recounting new findings has gone from 4,000 to 5,000 a year to 2 million. This enormous quantity of new information has completely changed our way of being, the way that man lives on the planet. One example of the great advance in knowledge over the last 200 years is in the means of transport, illustrated by this graphic. On the horizontal axis we have the passage of time, from before the Christian era to modern times. On the vertical axis here, we have the speed reached by man. From his origin, and for a very long time, the only way that man had to travel was on his own feet, and the amount of cargo he could carry was very small. When he ran, the maximum speed he could reach was 6.8 kilometers per hour, and then only for a short time. We don't know for certain when the wheel was invented, but the first traces of its existence date from between 5000 and 4000 BC. Thanks to the wheel, man was able to transport large loads in a shorter time. Horse-drawn war chariots appeared around 3000 BC in Mesopotamia. Later, around 1350 BC, the Egyptians in their Asiatic wars had 2- and 3-horse chariots as their main battle weapon, which reached speeds of 20 to 25 kilometers per hour. From the Egyptians up to the American stagecoach in 1800, after 3,000 years of human history, the only technological advance achieved was to go from 3 or 4 horses to 6 or 8. 1925 was an historic date. The steam engine, developed by George Stephenson, attained the speed of stagecoaches that traveled at 25 kilometers per hour. For the first time, a machine harnessed to wheels overtook a galloping horse. From then on, advances were extremely rapid. The wheel accelerated faster and faster. The wheel reached the clouds. Soon jets appeared, and in a short space of time, not more than 150 years, man left the earth he walked on and reached outer space by means of machines that allowed him to reach incredible speeds of about 150,000 to 200,000 kilometers per hour. All this, from the stagecoach to modern times of space rockets, came to pass in no more than 150 to 200 years, practically nothing in terms of human existence, which dates from more than 100,000 years ago. Another example of the many benefits coming from the advance of knowledge is the increase in life expectancy in the last 200 years. This graph, like the previous one, shows the growth of human population through the ages. Here, on the horizontal axis is time, and on the vertical, the number of people living on the planet. It is estimated that at the beginning of the Christian era, the average population of the planet was 300 million souls, and the average life expectancy was about 14 years. From then until 1850, the increase in population was from 300 million to around 900 million. Man's life expectancy varied between 30 and 40 years, depending on the region where he lived. In this time interval, population rose and fell, reflecting the result of plagues, epidemics, and often simply lack of food. Today, I wouldn't be right in the head. Therefore, it is important